Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my oneitis situations. I've had two of them in my life, and one of them was when I was in my 20s, mid 20s, mid to late 20s. I was 24 years old when I met this woman that I dated. Yeah, I dated her. I knew her in college, right? We knew each other from around the way. She ended up getting married, I think, during college or something like that, and then she got a divorce because the guy was cheating on her, which I sucks. But we ended up getting together when I was about 24, and we dated for about 4 years. I was going to ask her to marry me at the age of 28, and she basically said, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you." So that was one of the things. And then, when I broke up with her, it really affected me. I mean, it really kind of fucked me up in the head, because I think I told you guys in one of my last videos that, the majority of the relationships that I was in prior to that, right, I had been cheated on. I mean, I was spinning plates, I was doing my thing. But then when I was 21, so in high school, high school is high school. You know what I mean? You date, and you maybe date for 2 months, and then I cheat or they cheat or whatever the case may be. Who cares? It doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant, right? But then when I was 21, I got into kind of a serious relationship. I was thinking about getting married, and my buddy still gives me shit about it too. I said, I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all. And he's like, dude, what are you talking about? He goes, hey, man, remember that time when you said you saw it all? I was 21, dude. I didn't know shit. So then I get into a relationship, and she ended up cheating on me too with the guy that I played softball with. But, she, unfortunately she got paid back, and I don't wish bad on anybody, but, karma's a bitch sometimes, so you got to be careful with that. Then when I was 24, I ran into this woman again, and we started dating, and it was the situation that I thought I wanted it to be, and I was dating a couple other girls at the time. One of them was a flight attendant, and man, with the flight attendant, man, I used to have a blast with her, man. She was so much fun. We would go out and do stuff. I mean, she was cool as shit, man, and that's who I probably should have ended up with, right? That's my what if. That's pretty much my what if. But she was cute. She wasn't the prettiest woman in the world, but she was pretty. I mean, she had some, she had those green eyes, and she had a kicking little body, and man, we used to have a blast, man. It was so much fun. And I ended up, making a long story short, I ended up picking the girl that I thought, instead of the flight attendant. But the reason why I didn't pick the flight attendant, and it's pretty simple, because she told me, she goes, once I get a man, I usually get bored, and at that time I thought I was looking for longevity, you know what I mean? And I just shouldn't have even thought that way, in retrospect. But I gave up the flight attendant, which is my what if, and then got with this woman, and we ended up dating for about 4 years after that. And I mean, basically, to make a long story short, she came to me and said, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And this was Christmas, right before I was going to ask her to marry me. And I said, what am I doing? What am I doing? We dated for a little bit longer after that, but I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to call this, man. This is going nowhere, And, at that time, it kind of fucked me up. It messed me up for about 6 years after that, right? And I was never right after that. I could never find my groove, probably up until I was like 34 years old. And I was spinning plates. I was doing my thing, but I didn't trust anybody. I didn't trust women or anything. And I still don't. I mean, I got to admit, man, I've been through some trials, with women, and I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. And I can probably throw them as further than I can trust them, So it's just one of those things, and um, I it messed me up, but I let it mess me up, and I didn't really understand, but see, now finding the red pill, and see, back then I didn't have a good, strong male role model or male figure to go and talk to, bounce ideas off of. Everybody was just giving me this fluff bullshit, like, oh, you'll find the one, it's just a matter of time, Rich, just be patient and you'll find somebody, and blah, 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 bullshit, whatever. So, I didn't really, whatever, I just kept dating, and I dated, and I got into a relationship with one woman, and she was a great person, no kids. That woman that I broke up with didn't have kids either. And then I think that was just, I broke up with her because, number one, I was dishonest with her. You know what I mean? I was kind of an asshole, because I was a little bitter. I got to admit, I was a little bitter back then. And I was a little frustrated, and I just kind of wanted to do my thing, but I wasn't crystal clear about that with her, and I just handled things just bad, you know what I mean? And I regret that. I mean, to this day, I regret that, but it is what it is, it's a lessons learned. You take lessons learned and you just don't do it again, right? Well, then when I'm 35, I met somebody, dated him for 5 years. That was just bad timing. But that's the woman that I told you guys that, had the 2 boys, and, it was a blessing because I got to be a dad and that sort of thing, and then right after that, after that breakup was tough because I broke up with not only her, I broke up with the kids, and that was really hard, man, because I was really close to the kids. Well, then right after that, I started diving into a lot of YouTube content, right? And I found this gentleman named Coach Corey Wayne, right? And if you guys are familiar with this shit, I would, if you're not familiar, get familiar. If you're familiar, then you know what I'm talking about. This guy is a genius. I think he is. I don't give a shit what anybody says, man. I did exactly what he said, and life was on easy street, man. Dating was easy. Just, I looked at life differently. He gives you a completely different perspective, He's not like some of these mad, pissed off guys on the internet that you run into, and that sort of thing. He's got a really nice balance. And part of what he teaches is that you write down the characteristics that you really want in somebody, And it's like, when you buy a Jeep, right? I bought a Jeep a long time ago, so I've had a Jeep for a long time. And when I bought the Jeep, right, I see Jeeps everywhere, and that's that's the idea behind what he teaches, right? He tells you, okay, if you write down these characteristics, number one, become the person that you want to attract, right? Number two, write down the characteristics that you want in somebody, and then prioritize them, right? Because it's going to be longer than, I think for me, it was like 20 things I could think of right off the bat. And I prioritized 10 of them, right? And then, I would date women, and some women would have some of the things and blah, 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 And at that time I was having a good time. I was just having a good time. I didn't want to get tied down with anybody, and I was honest with every single one of them. And, but then when I was 42, I met this woman at the gym, and man, that cream rose to the top quick, man. I took her out on a date, first date, man. I kissed her. That was it, man. And I followed his shit to the T, and, I was in my frame. I was a centered guy. I just did my thing. I mean, I felt great at that particular time. And Corey Wayne is the one who opened that door for me, right? He's the one who made me understand what I had done in the past, right? With the first girl. And he made me fix what, the inadequacies, right? So, that path that I told you guys I was on, the red pill, the natural red pill. I was always wanting to go that direction, but I was always unsure of myself. I was always going back and forth. Well, he made me sure. He made me 100% sure of the path that I was on. I wouldn't call him like a dad figure or anything. It's more like a big brother, you know what I mean? And he was, but he kicked knowledge and put it in perspective to where you're like, oh yeah, man, I get it, And I really liked his. I still follow his shit to this day, man. I swear by it. I'm telling you, I would sell that to anybody. You know what I mean? I really will. And that shit sells itself. Honestly, man, you got to pay attention to that guy and do exactly what he says, because you will be successful. So, I started dating this woman, and man, we just vibed. Everything got better. The first kiss was just fucking amazing. The sexual encounters were just fucking amazing. I got along with her on every single level. I mean, just everything, man, was just off the charts. I mean, she fit that list and then some. I mean, she was almost all of the 20, But little did I know there were some things in the background, right? You know what I mean? And that's really what you got to date and figure out, right? So, but I mean, it just blew you away. And I'm telling you guys, and he tells you this too, right? When you have sex, when you sleep with a woman and you have that type of connection with somebody, it is off the charts, man. It is just unbelievable. And because you're like in tune with her, it's like being in a race car, man, and that fucking race car, man. I knew her. I could feel her. I knew exactly what was going on. It was crazy, and we were vibing even on a mental level. It was just unbelievable, right? I mean, we love the same kind of music, same type of religion. We even vibed on politics, and I won't talk about politics on this channel. But we vibed on everything, man. It was just, I can't even explain it. I mean, once you're there, you would know, and the 24-year-old and the other relationships were, the one that had the two boys was close. I got to say, it was really close. But, she left me one day. It was early on in the relationship, and it was on my birthday. And at that point, I kind of detached, from an emotional level. And I never allowed myself to get hooked. You know what I mean? So I never really let go with her. So that was one of my issues, kind of a trust issue and stuff like that. So, but I mean, this woman was just off the charts. And so, because I had a lot of blue-pilled friends, right? And they were all telling me, well, you got to, Rich, when are you going to grow up? When are you going to have kids? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? And you got to be really careful. Just, I'm going to tell you guys, you got to be real careful about people telling you this shit, because misery loves company, right? And if they're telling you this shit, you got to really take a deep dive and look at their life. If they're not living the life that you want to have, then don't listen to them. Bottom line. You know what I mean? They're full of shit. And 90%, I would say 99% of the people out there are full of shit. They tell you that being married and having kids and all that shit is great, but they're living like, I saw the movie. I had to watch it again because Aaron Cleary keeps talking about it, right? American Beauty. I hadn't seen it in years. And, man, watch that movie, man, because that's what the majority of people are doing. They're sleepwalking through life. They're just fucking, it's pitiful, right? It's pitiful. And when I took a deep dive into those people who are telling me that shit, they weren't 100% happy, but that's in retrospect. I didn't really take a deep dive in their life. I thought because they were older and they had the experience, they knew more than me, and they, so I was listening to them, right? But that's that blue pill narrative. And it's just a bunch of bullshit, The red pill and the inner alpha in me was telling me, no, go this way. Give it more time. What's the hurry? What's the rush? That sort of thing. And unfortunately, I ignored that. And that's when I've always gotten myself into trouble, right? Is when I ignore my intuition. So to make a long story short, we ended up moving in together at 8 months, asked her to marry me at 14 months. And we sold my house, the house that her and I were living in. And then we moved into an interim house because we bought a house. And then, we had a month before we could move in, before we closed. And then we wanted to renovate it, get it ready for our life together, right? And like I said, I don't know if I told you this, but she had a daughter, 12-year-old daughter at the time. And, I started seeing things in the interim house. I started seeing things before that. We had gotten into an argument when we still lived in my house, and she had, basically said, fuck you. And, during an argument, and I was just like, nah, and I left the house. I was pissed, you know what I mean? And at that point, my intuition, guess what it was telling me? Get out, man, get out of there, But, I called my blue pill friends, and they said, nah, give her another chance. Let her prove herself, let her see what's going on with that. It might be a one-off. So I did. And part of it was me listening to being in love, right? Being fucking blind to that shit, And next thing I know, right, we moved in together. And in the interim house, I started seeing and finding alcohol bottles, empty alcohol bottles around. And she was always drinking, drunk, and I was I would drink with her. I'm not going to lie. I would drink with her, but I always knew my limitations, because, at my age, it actually makes me sick, if I drink too much. And now even, at that age, I was, in my early 40s, now at my late 40s, now I can't even drink, man. I get really sick when I drink. So, and it goes against my fitness goals, man. I was working out. I've always been working out. So, it's just something that I just don't want to do. So I started noticing, and finding alcohol bottles around, empty alcohol bottles, but, I didn't really pay a lot of mind to it, but then one day I found a lot of them, and, I got pissed because I couldn't do that, right? My best friend died from alcoholism, cirrhosis of the liver, and I'm just like, nah, man, I'm just not going to be in that situation. I told her, I said, I'll go to AA with you. And, I was going to be that white knight, helping her out and shit like that. But, she didn't want to help herself ultimately, so I just couldn't go. I just couldn't do it at the very end, and plus my intuition told me, get the fuck out, so we ended up moving into the house, and it just kept going, right? And one day it just escalated beyond repair because I had to break up. I didn't feel confident, right? I had to break up the wedding. I had to cancel the wedding, and it made her really unsure of the relationship, and she thought I was cheating, and I didn't want anybody else, man. I really didn't. I just wanted the person that I fell in love with, and that's really what I wanted. I never changed in the relationship. She did, though, we stopped having those great conversations. She stopped listening to the music that we were listening to. She stopped going to the gym. It was just, her whole life was around drinking because she got depressed and stuff, And, I'm not that type of person. If I get down or get hit a wall with the situation, I go do something else, And so that was going on, and one day it escalated, and she I said, I'm gonna leave because the fighting was escalating, it was getting worse, and And, I was going to leave, and she had detachment issues because of her dad and stuff like that. And she ended up hitting me. I was gathering up all my shit, trying to, pack up everything, put it in my Jeep and just take off, and I was going to come back the next day. I mean, I was just going to give it some time to cool down, but, she got upset, and she ended up hitting me, and, I had to call the police on her, and have them escort me out of the house. I just told her, I said, I don't want anybody arrested. I'm lucky I didn't get arrested, because I found out later that domestic violence, usually we both get arrested, no matter what. No ifs, ands, buts. There's Einstein. But, the thing is that, I told him, I said, I don't want anybody arrested. And, I just want you guys to get me out of this house. I don't want to be here during this situation, and it was a horrible situation. And quite frankly, I never went back. This was right before Christmas in 2017. And I never went back. I went back for some stuff, you know what I mean? But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do the alcoholism. I definitely can't do violence or drama. So I ended up moving all my shit out that next January. And that was the first time I had ever contemplated suicide, guys. I mean, it was awful. So those of you who are going through it or have been through it, it's awful. I feel you. I feel your pain, but just know that somebody else went through it, and life is good now, man. You know what I mean? It does get better. You just need to recalibrate and move on. And, I went to go live with my mom. I had to live with her for 2 years, and being mid-40s and living with your mom, it sucks, man. I'm not going to lie. Nothing against my mom. I love my moms. And it was a blessing in disguise too. Like I said, I always look at the glass half full, and, I was able to help her get back on track financially. I was able to, she got in better shape. She saw the way I was eating, because I eat real clean. She saw the way I was eating. She kind of adopted that. And then I bought her a dog, because I had a dog. I had Einstein at the time. And it's been a blessing. It was really a blessing. Everything happens for a reason, and that's the way you kind of have to look at it. All I did at that particular time is I put my efforts into positive things, right? I started playing more golf, hanging out with my buddies. And, I had cars at that time, and, I was buying and selling cars, and that's something I enjoy doing, fixing them up and doing different things to them. And so I was putting a lot of efforts in that. And plus I was working out. I was working out like a madman and going to work, So I was really trying to put my efforts into positive things and trying to keep my mind off it. But, I had a little bit of PTSD after that, and it was kind of awful. And I jumped on the horse right after that. I mean, real quick, I jumped on the horse. I started dating somebody else. I had to, man. She's a dime piece. So, I mean, it's this chick that came up to me and just started kicking it. And we went out, had a good time. And, it escalated pretty quick. And I followed Corey Wayne's shit. So Corey and everybody out there, man, if you follow his shit, and I had that woman saying, I love you after like 5 weeks. I mean, it was crazy. And I think Corey's estimate is about 7 weeks or something like that. I mean, the chick was gone, right? And I was kind of gone too. I mean, she was dime. She was, we were having a good time, man. And she brought into my life a lot of things that I was missing with my ex-fiance, Well, we ended up dating. We dated for about 6 months, and there was a lot of issues there, man. I mean, there's other factors that, I don't really need to talk about. It's not a big deal, but it's things that, I may talk about it in the single mom piece, because there are things that you got to really think about when dating a single mom. But we ended up breaking up because I told her, I said, you need to deal with that. I need to deal with my shit. We went our separate ways. And about a year later, I ended up getting back with my ex, right after my dad died. My dad died in September of 2019. And a month later, my ex-fiance contacted me, and, you know, and I was vulnerable at that time, and I said, she apologized for everything, and wanted to get back together. So we ended up getting back together, and I dated her for a year. But the same thing was there, man. I mean, when a person shows you who they are, believe them, and that's what I learned out of that whole situation. So after that, I was done, man. I broke up with her in October of 2020, and this was during the whole COVID thing, man. It was crazy. And, I just told her, I said, I can't do this anymore, man. I just can't, if you don't want to help yourself, I can't help you. I was still willing at that time to help her, but right after that, man, I started really diving into the red pill shit. Really started right after the woman that I dated for 6 months is when I started really getting red pilled. But I didn't 100% buy into it until after I broke up with my ex-fiance again for the second time. And man, that's when I took off, man. I started drinking through that fire hose, man. And, I started seeing the red pill. I got mad, I went a little black pill. I'm not going to lie to you, but, I started seeing the code in the matrix, man. And I started putting it in perspective for my life. And ultimately, I adopted a lot of their ideals. You know what I mean? I vibe with a lot of what they say. I don't necessarily, some of them are a little abrasive, abrasive is probably a bad word, but they're just really tough with women, and I agree with that to some extent, you know what I mean? But still, I like the balance of Corey Wayne, right? You can do things in a diplomatic way and that sort of thing. Some of the red pill content that I've run into, I'm not going to say who or whatever, but some of the red pill content that I've run into, it's just there's an anger component that I've noticed, and I mean, it's to be expected. I completely understand where that's coming from, right? But that's not my nature. You know what I mean? I'm not an angry guy. I'm a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, man. I smile a lot. I fuck around. I have a good time, and that's my demeanor, and honestly, and see that's the thing, right? You're going to run into a lot of content here on YouTube, and I may not be your flavor, but Corey Wayne or one of the other red pill guys might be your flavor. I don't know. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of having choice on YouTube, right? Is that you can find who you want to follow, And Corey Wayne is my flavor. I mean, I like his balance. I really do. He has a really nice balance to his thing, and to me, he puts things in perspective that I'm just like, I don't take it seriously. Like I don't sweat the small stuff. You know what I mean? And maybe it's just his way. I don't know. I mean, I can't put my finger on it. I think it's just his demeanor that I really vibe with because it's in line with mine, And some of the other red pill guys, I like them. They're cool, and they have their place, but they're not my vibe sometimes, you know what I mean? But I agree with some of the stuff that they say, and I take bits and pieces out of that shit and I put it into my Corey Wayne beliefs, and that's that's the salad that I get, right? And basically what I did was I took all of that shit, right? And I put it in perspective for my life, and it just gave me confidence in the direction that I want to go. Because I've always been going this direction. The only thing that the red pill and Corey Wayne did for me was solidify and give me a clearer lens to go in this direction. You know what I mean? That's the only thing it really did for me. I was always that guy. I know I went blue pill, in some respects, in some aspects of my life, but for the most part, man, I was pretty red pill, and everything that I've gotten myself out of, the reason why I got myself out of it was because of my intuition, was because of that inner voice. And that was always red pill. You know, it was always alpha. It was always, you know, that sort of thing, right? So that's really what you got to find out about yourself. You know, I mean, you can listen to all these guys on YouTube and you can, you know, some of them will resonate, some of them won't, but you can pick bits and pieces because they all have some valuable content, you know, and you put it in perspective for your life, not, you know, you're not going to be a Coach Corey Wayne. You're not going to be a Rich Cooper. You're not going to be, you know, an Aaron Cleary. You're not going to be, you know, Kevin Samuels. You know what I mean? Those kind of guys, right? You know, we're all different, you know, and that's what I learned. You know, I learned the truth. And that's what made me mad because I was like, man, how come I couldn't fucking learn this 15 years ago? You know, I felt like I just wasted a lot of time, you know, just fucking around and not knowing and being unsure of myself. You know, if I had listened to that inner voice and my intuition, I probably would have been in a completely different place. And that's what I came to grips with, right? Because the red pill taught me to listen to that intuition, but I just wish I had listened to it 15 years ago, you know? Or even longer than that, 20 years ago. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? You can't worry about the past. You got to move forward. And the whole idea and what I've learned is that, number one, you got to work on yourself. You got to make yourself better. You got to become the best version of yourself. You know, me, I would consider myself an 8. Probably about an 8 right now, you know, because there's still some shit that I need to do, right? I need to get my mind right. You know, I watched the video yesterday on YouTube, man, and it stressed me out. I mean, it's about dating nowadays, right? You know, it's all about apps and fucking Instagram, you know, and I don't like social media, man. Doing this is a stretch for me, but, you know, I want to help you guys. So that's why I'm here. But, you know, getting on Instagram, man, and swiping right and left and all that shit, man, just does not fucking appeal to me. You know, I always have this picture of meeting somebody at Starbucks and just having a good conversation and saying, hey, you want to go to some dinner sometime? You know, I mean, that's real and that's old school. That's me. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, man. That's where I come from, you know, but it's not like that anymore, you know, and I got to change. And the biggest part for me is changing that mindset, right? I'm already kind of stuck in my ways and I've dated a certain way for a long time. Now it's, you know, about changing up your game. Well, the game's there for me, right? I always have the game, but it's just getting past these fucking dating apps and you know, Instagram shit, you know? I mean, you know, I asked a girl out not too long ago and she's like, do you have you know, okay, give me your Instagram. And I was like, I don't have that shit. Either you want to go out with me or you don't. You know, I don't give a shit, you know? And, you know, needless to say that I didn't pan out, you know, but whatever. I don't really give a shit, you know? And that's just kind of the way you got to handle it, right? You can't take that shit personal because the majority of the time, they're missing out. You got to get to a point in your life where they're missing out. You know, if they don't go out with you, it's their loss. You know, and that's where I'm at, right? Because I know I'm an 8. I know I'm a solid fucking 8, even high 8. You know, the only two things that I need to work on is my mindset, getting changed, getting a mindset shift to get on these fucking apps and maybe get in an Instagram and running game that way. And then the other thing is, you know, that, you know, because I got the game. I mean, I can talk to people in person. That's not a problem. You know, I can talk to women in person. That's easy. But you know, it's the Instagram and app game that I gotta really try to, because it's so impersonal to me. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, you just look at somebody's picture and you don't know what's behind that. You know what I mean? Like you may not their picture may not vibe with you, but they may be a fucking fantastic person. And you know what? In certain light or in certain other situations, they just may be a great person. Or the other side of the coin, right? What I've noticed in my dating recently is that, man, these fucking women, man, oh my God, they got aircraft carriers, 787s full of baggage. I'm not saying that I'm baggage free, but I got maybe a prop plane. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now. You know, because I've dealt with all my shit. I've gotten my mind right. I've done the work. I'm okay with dating. You know what I mean? I've gotten myself to a place where, you know, I'm good if I date. You know, I'm not gonna fucking go haywire. You know, but my experience so far has not been the best. You know. I had this one girl come over and cook me dinner, man, and she starts telling me how to run shit in my house. And I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. And I was nice about it, but she got all butthurt. And I never heard from her again, which is fine. It's no fucking big deal, you know. It's actually, I saw it as a good thing, you know. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, it's going to be a challenge for me. You know, I know at my age of 48 years old, you know, learning, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you know what I mean? and that's what's going to be hard for me. So, and I'm one of those motherfuckers that's just stuck in his ways, you know. I do things a certain way, and that's just the way it is, you know. And it's like the Sahara out here where I live, man. I mean, finding a woman over 25 that doesn't have kids, man, the probabilities are not in your favor, you know. So it is what it is, and it's just really a mindset change for me. And then the other thing too that I'm really working on is getting my physique, man. I'm going to be in a physique contest at the end of April, and I've really been just trying to shred out and you know, basically get ready for summer. You know, and I've been working with a coach. He's fantastic, you know, and I'm just working on myself, man. You know, I mean, I'm dating here and there. I'm still doing it. I'm still out there. I haven't done the app game yet, but I will. I'll get back into it, you know. But I saw Myron Gaines talking about that shit, man. I was just like, wow, you know. But he's in the Super Bowl of fucking dating, man, over there in Miami, you know. And I'm just like, wow, dude. You know, I mean, where I live, it's not even 1/10 of that. So, you know, I mean, at least I have that in my favor, you know. But and I'm a top tier guy, you know. I mean, I'm not quite 6 foot, you know. I'm almost 6 foot. I'm 5'11". So I'm right there. You know, I make six figs. You know, I definitely got something in the pants. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I forgot what I don't have a 600 horsepower car, but maybe I'll get, you know, I have a Jeep that's got some HP in it, you know, but it is what it is, you know. I'll get back into the game. It's all good. You know what I mean? And I'm in the game right now, you know, but I'm talking about specifically the app game and dating that way. That's going to be a challenge for me, but it is what it is, man. But hey, that's my oneitis story. You know, it's interesting, really interesting, but I've learned a lot, and I definitely won't get there again. I definitely won't, you know. I mean, the thing that really concerns me is that I'm never, you know, the chances of me having a connection like that is extremely rare now, especially in the dating world that I'm in, right? And the informality of the dating apps, and you know, you can't talk to somebody, you know, person to person anymore. You know, it's so impersonal anymore, you know. So, you know, you can't immediately get I mean, I guess you could if you get them off the apps and you start, you know, going out to coffee or whatever, you can get a feel for that. But, you know, the chances of having the connection that I had with my ex-fiance, that's going to be extremely rare. And I think she's going to have the same difficulty, you know. But it is what it is, man. You got to roll with the punches, man. When life gives you lemons, man, you make fucking lemon meringue pie. And that's what I'm doing. So you guys stay up, man. I'm definitely staying up, and I'm definitely doing it. But I just wanted to share that story with you, man. Reach out to me if you guys want online coaching. You know, if you want to talk to me more about this or anything else, you know, let me know. You know, I'll talk to you about fitness. I'll talk to you about dating, you know, career goals, whatever you guys want to talk about, man, I'll talk about it. You know, send me an email, schedule one-on-one with me. You know, it's not free, like I said, but you will get a lot of value out of it. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. All right, later.